This blood red SG is, well, it's floating on the surface, so we need to deal with that. I start with a sponge and obviously clean the glass. Cocopa Carolina, nice plant, nice and green, bright, vibrant, very easy plant. And we'll just go ahead and cut right through all these stems. Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. The tank behind me definitely needs a maintenance session. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to be showing you a more heavy, involved maintenance session. I've probably not given it that much attention for the last 2 weeks. I have done some water changes, weekly water changes, but I haven't trimmed the plants as much as I should have. With a tank like this, a more Dutch style, heavily planted tank, you've got to start removing the old growth of the stems, throwing them away, discarding them, and then replanting the healthy parts of the stems. And if you don't keep doing this, then it starts to get out of hand and the stems grow too tall and too dense and the old growth starts to decay. So this is something, particularly with this kind of style of tank, you've got to be on top of. And it's possible that, well, with being such a small tank, I've got to do this more often. So that's what we're going to be doing today. It's going to be a more involved maintenance session, cleaning the tank up, but also removing the stems and replanting the healthy parts. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We have a wee bit of green dust algae on the glass, as you can see, here and especially over here. The pipes need to clean, but that's easily done. You can see the stems over here, I've trimmed them probably too much. It's time to just take them all down and replant the tips. The stems here, this blood red SG is, well, it's floating on the surface, so we need to deal with that. This bit here, once again, needs trimmed. This one here needs trimmed. And if you look down the side, some of the older leaves, there you go. So this one right here is sort of, well, it's not looking too good, is it? So that's what I mean by you've got to, you know, take the tops off, take the healthy tops, discard the roots, the old roots and the old parts of the stems, and then replant the whole thing. As with most maintenance sessions, I start with a sponge and obviously clean the glass. The little betta is wanting his food because I haven't fed him today, but we'll get to that maybe after the water change. So I'm going to just go ahead and clean the glass with this melamine sponge. You can use anything you like, but this is what I use. Another little tool I use is one of these. This is the like a razor scraper. It's useful for getting down to the bottom of the tank. The next step we're going to take is trimming some of the plants. So what I'm looking for here is taking out some of the healthier growth, the growth that I'm going to replant once I remove all the old growth. To do this, a pair of like little tiny, what would you call them, spring scissors work really well because you can individually pick out the healthy stems. If you're using scissors like this, you know, more standard type of scissors, you can do that as well, but you're more taking like bigger bunches of plants instead of, with these ones you can take individual stems. It depends on what kind of size tank you have. So if you have like a really large tank, you're definitely going to want to use the bigger scissors. But a small tank like this, I can individually pick out the most healthy stems. So as you can see here, we've got a bunch of this Bacopa, it's a Cocopa Carolina. Nice plant, nice and green, bright, vibrant, very easy plant. This is not rare, so I really highly recommend this plant actually. It's a lovely plant and it's very easy to maintain. So we're gonna maybe put this down onto a tray and keep it wet, keep it moist, maybe spray it every so often and then we'll move on with other plants as well. With bigger bunches like these plants, scissors like this might work better. There's just too many stems just to go through by one. So just going ahead and just chopping a decent length because you're going to need to replant obviously. And I don't want to replant and make the tank look brand new again, so maybe down here. And we'll just go ahead and cut right through all these stems. Whew, it's hard work this. One little tip when you're trying to remove the plants. So if I just go grab a stem, just for this purpose of showing you. Right, so we have a stem, it's in the soil. When you're trying to pull it out, just give it a little jiggle up and down, because as you're removing it from the soil, if you just go ahead and yank it out, there's going to be a big cloud of just dirt and gunk. So to reduce the amount of you lifting the soil up, just by jiggling it up and down, it keeps the soil where the soil's meant to be, and instead of in the water column. Obviously there'll still be a mess, but this really massively reduces it. So right now I'm doing so. I'm removing some of the plants and just throwing them away, because it's the discarded stems, it's the unhealthy growth, the ones that aren't doing so well, the old stems that I've not taken for replanting. So we can see the tank is a pretty cloudy mess. This is the process you have to go through. It doesn't look good. The next step, obviously I've removed all the plants from the background. We've got our stems on a little board, if I get that to show you right now. So we've got this board, this platter of stems. We're gonna have to do a water change obviously, but clean the substrate. Now maybe if you're doing this every year, you could properly clean the substrate with a siphon. Go right down in there, clean all the dirt through the substrate. But if I do that, I would probably remove the root tabs I added not long ago. So I'm going to try and maybe disturb the top half centimeter of the substrate just to clean it. And then I might add maybe 1 or 2 root tabs. I won't add too much because I did add quite a lot not long ago. But that's the next step. And during the water change, obviously, so clean it up a bit, clean the substrate a bit, then we move on to the planting. So we've got a siphon. This is just a basic siphon with just a basic tube. There's no quick start. You have to suck on the end of the tube to make it start. I got a lot of questions on how do I stop the soil coming through the siphon into the bucket. Well, you just simply pinch the tube to make the flow slower, So go ahead and do that through the whole tank. I'm only going to be disturbing a little bit of the soil, but if you're doing this every year, you can probably go a wee bit more aggressive and siphon more of the substrate and then add loads of root tabs afterwards. But anyway, let's get started. So another little tip I'm going to do here is use a little turkey baster. You simply just squish this on the surface of the soil and it dislodges any waste, and then you siphon it out with a tube. This is a really good technique to use on weekly water changes. It's not too destructive, you're not disturbing too much of the soil, which is really good. So here I can't really get in with the siphon that much to this area with all the Aquarium. So I'm going to try and use this, try and get more of that waste out of the tank. And then we're good to go with replanting, I think. As you can see, I'm going to be doing quite a large water change here, but it's just because the amount of waste we've disturbed into the water column. We've got to try and just remove as much as we can, because it's going to be a problem later down the road. It's going to be too much waste disturbed into the water column on the top of the surface of the soil. We're going to have algae issues if we don't try and remove this now. So that's a really good tip. Use the turkey baster. Got the water drained, cleaned. I think I might add a little bit of water in because we haven't got much in, and then I will plant. So let's go do that now. Said I was going to be putting more water in here, but we're going to be using RO water. I'm going to be remineralizing with that new product that I talked about in the last video, APT Sky, which is the GH remineralizer. And before I forget, I also mentioned that I'd be using root tabs. So this is APT Jazz. I'm going to be putting a few of these in, not many because I did put a lot in before. And in the last video I did say I would give you an update on this. This made a huge difference to my plant health. I was having nutrient issues with my plants and my soil was depleted, so this saved my plants. Massive difference. If you want to try it out, there's a discount code. You can use code Jordan. So I filled up the water in the tank, cleaned the pipe work and the diffuser, so it's all clean now. I didn't film it all because it's not that interesting, but as you can see we've planted the whole tank now with the new fresh growth, and I do this every month and a half, 2 months, to maintain it in the long term. You might not have to do it that often in a bigger tank because the plants can go taller, but you can only trim the stem plants so much before the old growth is the leaves are starting to fall off, or it's just not looking as fresh as it did when you planted it. So this is the thing you have to do in a tank like this to maintain it in the long term. And obviously don't want any of you guys saying that it looked better before, because I know it looked better before, but the point is that it can regrow and it can maintain it for longer, because previously if I kept trimming it, the old growth would just eventually, die. So we can't have that happening. Anyway guys, I hope you picked up something new in this. I hope some of that was helpful. Yeah, I'll see you next one. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.